Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever actually stopped to think about what would happen if your laptop was stolen right now? I mean, not just the financial sting of replacing the hardware, but that sheer adrenaline spiking panic of realizing a total stranger has the literal keys to your entire existence? Well, today we are going to completely transform your vulnerable laptop into an absolute impenetrable digital fortress. Okay, let's dive into this. We'll start with the nightmare scenario, move into current vulnerabilities, and then get into building the defenses. After that, we'll cover BIOS lockdown, the security chain, and finally, evacuation and recovery. Section 1. The nightmare scenario. Why protect your laptop? If you don't really grasp the stakes here, you won't build the walls high enough, because losing an unprotected laptop, that is basically handing a thief your entire digital life on a silver platter. We aren't just talking about the headache of buying a new machine. You are exposing yourself to devastating privacy violations. Just imagine your private photos, your personal messages, your medical records sitting in the hands of a criminal. And worse, it opens the door to identity theft. An attacker can hijack your two-factor authentication, completely take over your social media, and literally send blackmail or harassing messages disguised as you. Oh, and if you miraculously get the laptop back, no way you're safe. You're completely vulnerable to secondary attacks, like nasty ransomware, botnets, or hidden backdoors they installed while they had it. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark reality we're dealing with. Naturally, we tend to fixate on those financial threats on the left, right? Drained bank accounts, hijacked crypto wallets, stolen PayPal funds, and sure, that's a massive headache. But look over at the right side, legal death. If a work laptop goes missing without proper protection, you could be facing massive regulatory fines, like GDPR violations, where we are talking upwards of $50,000. You could face immediate job termination, lose your professional license if you're a doctor or a lawyer, and get hit with devastating lawsuits from clients whose data that exposed. It's game over. Section 2. Where your security fails. What you did wrong. So how exactly does this happen? Well, usually it's because we rely on the dangerous, honestly kind of lazy myth that a simple Windows login password is all the security we need. Guys, it's like putting a screen door on a submarine. If you have no encryption on your hard drive, a hacker doesn't even care about your password. Within 15 minutes, they just use a bootable pen drive, totally bypass the Windows login, and copy every single file straight off your disk. And on the flip side, if you have no BIOS locks, you are basically inviting a hacker to just plug in a USB, tweak your system settings to change the boot order, and happily inject malware right into your machine. Your standard Windows password stops absolutely none of this. This is exactly why we need to upgrade our thinking, starting with the Windows Hello PIN. A Windows Hello PIN is vastly superior to your standard password. Why? Because it's actually a device-bound login credential. It isn't just some random string of text. It's physically tied to the TPM chip right there on your motherboard. So if a thief rips out your hard drive and stuffs it into another computer, the PIN absolutely will not work. Plus, that TPM chip features super aggressive lockout and anti-hammering protections, which totally blocks hackers from trying to brute force their way into your login. Section 3. Building the Fortress Initial Setup. Okay, it's time to actually build those foundational layers of our digital fortress. Here's the 4-step fortification process. Step 1. Enable BitLocker. This encrypts your drive right where it is, meaning there's absolutely no formatting needed. It's a breeze. Step 2. Set a BitLocker pin. Now your data is completely unreadable unless unlocked with this extra pin, and you definitely want to save your recovery key completely offline. Step 3. Set up that Windows Hello PIN for your everyday login. And finally, Step 4. Add a BIOS or UEFI password to block any external boot attempts. Section 4. Locking the doors. BIOS protection gigabyte example. Let's move to end and see how this builds an impenetrable wall, using a gigabyte motherboard as our example. First up, we lock the boot menu, so just hitting F12 to change boot options always requires a password. Second, we set a supervisor password to lock down all the BIOS settings. Third, we harden the boot priority. We configure it so the computer can only ever boot from your encrypted Windows drive. Everything else gets disabled. Fourth, we disable boot override and fast boot, forcing UEFI only. And lastly, we enable secure boot. This makes absolutely sure that only official Microsoft-signed bootloaders can start up. So any unsigned malware or rootkits, they are stopped dead in their tracks before they even get the chance to launch. Section 5. The unbreakable chain. Final security visualized. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly these defenses interlock. Literally every single hacker attack vector is neutralized by a specific barrier we just configured. If they get physical access, bam, they hit the BIOS password. If they try pulling up the F12 boot menu, they hit that BIOS password again. If they try booting from some malicious USB, the system completely ignores it because we pulled it off the boot priority list. A malicious bootloader? Blocked by Secure Boot. And if they somehow bypass all of that and stare right at the physical drive itself, it's totally scrambled by BitLocker and demands your PIN or recovery key. I want to let this really sink in for a second. Even with full, uninterrupted physical access to your device, an attacker cannot bypass your Windows security without your BitLocker recovery key and your account password. Period. That is the absolute peace of mind you get from this multi-layered defense. Section 6. The evacuation plan, backup, and restore workflows.
Now, of course, building a massive fortress naturally brings up a pretty common fear: getting locked out of your own data if your hardware suddenly fails. Well, you can rest easy here because normal system backup software like AOMI handles this flawlessly. An intelligent backup captures the drive's current encrypted state perfectly. You don't need to fiddle with any complicated special settings for BitLocker. When you need to restore that backup, it just works, restoring a fully bootable system with all your encryption totally intact and active.
But hey, there is a pretty critical difference depending on exactly where you restore that data. If you are doing a same PC restore, which means putting the backup right back onto the exact same motherboard, you literally just use the same BitLocker pin and Windows Hello works immediately. Why? Because it recognizes that exact same physical TPM chip. However, if you're forced to do a different PC restore onto brand new hardware, things do change a bit. You are absolutely going to need your 48-digit recovery key, and Windows Hello will initially fail because it detects a brand new TPM chip. So let's detail exactly what to expect if you do have to restore to a totally different laptop. The good news, you don't need to do any formatting. But because of that TPM hardware mismatch we just talked about, BitLocker will demand your 48-digit recovery key before it lets you boot. Then, because your Hello PIN couldn't transfer, you'll simply log in using your core Microsoft account password and just re-enable your Hello PIN in the settings. You might also have to run Windows Update to grab some new drivers, but through that entire transfer process, your data remains completely 100% secure. Section 7. The debrief. Essential key takeaways. We've built the fortress, locked the doors, and prepared an evacuation plan. So the crucial point is this. Your ultimate failsafe relies entirely on keeping physical, offline artifacts safe. You absolutely must write down or securely print out your 48-digit BitLocker recovery key, your core Microsoft account password, and your BIOS password. Keep them locked in a safe or a physical file folder somewhere. Remember how the structure works. BitLocker protects the physical drive. Windows Hello secures your daily login, and your normal backups preserve everything safely. So look at your machine right now. Is it a fortress? Or is your entire digital life basically sitting on a silver platter, just waiting for the next person who decides to pop open the lid? Don't wait until the nightmare scenario becomes your reality. Lock it down today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and stay secure out there.